Hello and welcome to Business Line. Time is running out for Greece. For the last weeks and months, this is something we've been hearing on a daily basis. This week we focus solely on Greece, the talks with its creditors, the current economic situation and the prospects for the future. In this special Greek edition of Business Line, I'll talk to our correspondents in Brussels and Athens to get a more detailed picture of the Greek crisis. The country's government and its creditors have been holding endless talks described as crucial and last chance. But what's been happening to the country's economy in the meantime? Was it put on hold? Well, not really. Greece's economy shrank 0.2% in the first quarter of 2015, slipping back into recession. Year on year, the GDP bumped along at 0.4%. That's the data from January to March, before the whole debt drama reached boiling point. What's more tricky are the prospects for the future. At the beginning of May, the European Commission said Greece's economy will grow by 0.5% this year and by 2.9% in 2016. Brussels will update the forecasts in November. Before that, the country should first of all meet its obligations. We looked at what's in store for Greece this summer.
The Greeks owe money to the troika of international lenders, which includes the IMF, the ECB and the Eurozone. Private investors own €38.7 billion of Greek government bonds, and Athens issued €15 billion of short-term treasury bills, in the main to the Greek banking system. Over the summer months, Athens must repay the following: most urgently €1.6 billion by the end of the month. In July, €3.9 billion is due, and in August, €3.2 billion. The recent wrangling, insults and brinkmanship, with so much at stake, have left many unimpressed.
Neither side, the country's creditors or Greece itself, have emerged with any great credit. And that, I think, will continue to dog the Eurozone even after this crisis has been resolved.
Eurozone members Germany, France, Italy and Spain are exposed to more than €161 billion of Greek debt.
The Syriza party swept to power in January on an anti-austerity platform. The Greeks have been supporting the government's reluctance to sign up to more tax hikes and spending cuts. But while the country's prime minister was defending his anti-austerity policies, people gathered in Athens for a pro-EU rally for Greece to stay in the Eurozone.
Several thousand pro-European Greeks staged a demonstration in favour of staying in the euro as EU leaders discussed their fate in Brussels. The rally underscored the fear among Greeks over the fallout from the long-running negotiations between Athens and its creditors. We stand by Tsipras, we try to support him, but it's gone on too far and it has to end. Enough is enough. Greece belongs in Europe. He should sign, return and then discuss finding a solution on how to organise our country. A deal, even a bad one, when it comes together with a significant debt reduction to make it viable, is a good deal. Tensions later boiled over when anti-Europe anarchists clashed with the demonstrators. Most who turned out on Monday night regard themselves as Greece's silent majority. But if Tsipras does return with a deal, he'll have to try and unite a country behind him, which has been divided by years of biting recession. Our reporter in Athens says, shouting Greece, Europe, democracy, demonstrators underline that however bad a deal may be, it's better than a Grexit, which, as they say, would be disastrous. They're therefore trying to impose maximum pressure on the government while negotiations intensify.
To discuss the situation from inside and outside Greece, I'm now joined by our very own correspondents. Efi Koutsakosta is in Brussels and Stamatis Yiannissis is in Athens. Efi, let's start with you. You've been covering all the recent meetings. Has anything changed in terms of the atmosphere and understanding between both sides?
Sasha, it's true that the new proposal that the Greek government submitted on Monday morning has been welcomed by the institutions and the main EU creditors as a good basis for further discussions it was the first time that something like that happened. On the other hand, it became clear that the IMF, which is one of the institutions and creditors, doesn't have the same opinion. And that's because although the Greek government suggested measures including lifting the retirement age and curb early retirement, avoided to make concessions such as direct pension cuts. The other issue is that even now, the cautiousness is still there, as according to an EU spokesman, Greece will have to clearly commit to the actions it will take before any bailout funds can be released.
We have all been very focused on the issue of unblocking more international aid. But this is rather a short-term aim, while the long-term target must be how to put the Greek economy at least back on the recovery track, let alone sustainable growth. Was this even discussed?
Well, I think that the whole debate was also about that. First of all, of course, it was the money that Greece has to give back to the lenders, and then growth. The Greek government links this issue to the sustainability of the debt, which is of a high priority for them. The Greeks say that the country cannot release its productive powers without a debt relief and a more stable financial environment. On the other hand, the European creditors are not really eager to discuss this openly, stressing that growth could come only by reforming, which according to them could also make the Greek debt sustainable. Meanwhile, the EU Commission has already announced the €35 billion growth package, which could become available to Greece during the 2015 and 2020 period, provided the country fulfill the necessary requirements, including, of course, signing a deal.
Stamatis, the talks have been closely watched from Greece. What's the feeling in Athens, on the streets and in political circles?
Well, I will not be exaggerating if I said that Greek society hasn't experienced such a prolonged period of political and economic uncertainty for over a generation now. So the atmosphere is quite tense and anxiety is evident both to the people and to the politicians. Commercial activity has almost come to a standstill, as people have become very cautious with spending on goods, buying nothing but the bare essentials. And as fear of possible market controls are growing while this uncertainty lasts, it is more likely nowadays to find more money tucked underneath the people's bed mattresses than in their bank accounts.
Anti-austerity protests in Athens are something we are more or less used to, let's admit it. But recently we've been seeing these pro-EU rallies for Greece to stay in the Eurozone. Has anything changed in the voters' mood?
Well, yes, it is a bit strange to see different types of rallies addressing in effect the same issue, which is a protest against the current situation the country is in. Whether someone protests against austerity or rallies in favor of Greece's stay in the Eurozone is trying to send the message over to the country's creditor that the Greek people suffering for over 5 years now must somehow stop. Obviously, one is likely to find more government supporters in the anti-austerity demonstrations and more opposition fans in the pro-Eurozone rallies. But the vast majority of the people who take part in them are both against austerity and in favor of the European Union as well as the euro currency.
These were Afi Koutsokosta in Brussels and Stamatis Yiannissis in Athens. Thank you very much indeed. That was it for now. Thank you for watching and we'll see you next week.